We are very honored to have with us today our first speaker, Senator Phil Berger, President Pro Tem of the North Carolina Senate. A Republican, he represents the state's 26th Senate District, which includes Guilford and Rockingham counties. Senator Berger was first elected to the state Senate in 2000, and at that time his district included my home county of Allegheny. He became minority leader within 4 short years and was elected President Pro Tem January 2011, following the November 2010 elections that put Republicans in charge of the legislature for the first time in more than a century. As President Pro Tem, Berger works closely with the Speaker of the House, the Governor, on behalf of the state Senate. He was raised in Danville, Virginia, just across the border. He graduated with a degree in sociology from Averett University at age 28, becoming the first member of his family to earn a college degree. In the spring of 1980, Berger and his family moved to Winston-Salem, where he attended law school. He worked for a firm in Charlotte and clerked for an appellate court judge here in Raleigh before moving to Eden in 1984. He joined a practice that later became the Berger Law Firm, a partnership with his 2 sons, Philip and Kevin. Phil and Pat still live in Eden. They have 4 grandchildren, and we are so glad to have Senator Berger with us today. Make him welcome. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's kind of awkward to walk out there and somebody's introducing you, and they're in the back and they say, "Oh, go on out there. It's okay. Go ahead." So, the only thing that Patrick left out is we just adopted a dog. So in addition to 3 children, 4 grandchildren, we now are the proud owners of a puppy. So if I seem a little sleepy this morning, it's because we just picked him up on Saturday. And for those of you who have dogs, you understand what I'm talking about. Patrick and I reminisced for just a moment back there because when I was first elected to the Senate, my Senate district included Allegheny County, and the same year Patrick was elected to the county commission in Allegheny County. But at that time, my district was exclusively rural. It was Rockingham County, Surry County, Ashe County, Allegheny County, and Watauga County. And after that 2 years, it changed, and so I now represent a district that is almost a microcosm of the state of North Carolina, because I still have Rockingham County that I represent, but I also represent Guilford County, which and parts of the city of Greensboro. So that gives me an opportunity and presents a number of challenges in terms of where we are, particularly with the way the state is changing. But I'm here to, and I don't have to remind you and don't have to tell you this, but to affirm that rural communities and rural counties in North Carolina are the backbone of this state. And the state Senate remains focused on how we can improve the lives of hardworking folks like you and your families. Since 2011, members of the General Assembly have worked to pass reforms that benefit all of North Carolina, but with a particular concern about rural North Carolina. I want to cite a couple of those things. We cut taxes, including the personal income tax, the corporate income tax, and the gas tax. We eliminated the death tax and ended dozens of loopholes for special interests. That death tax is particularly important for small businesses and farming communities. We increased the amount of personal income that is tax-free. Now families and small businesses in North Carolina are saving billions of dollars. We are leaving that money in the hands of the people who earn the money. North Carolina now has the best tax climate in the region, the 11th best in the entire country, a significant improvement over 2011 when we were 44th in the nation. We've now passed 6 consecutive balanced budgets, all by making tough choices and making sure that we don't increase the tax burden or the regulatory burden on you or on other North Carolinians. And this year, we have a $580 million surplus in revenue over what was projected. We've increased funding for public education by over $1.5 billion over the past 6 years. We've restored teaching positions that, to state funding that were removed from state funding or frozen. We've reformed the teacher pay scale and moved average teacher pay to $50,000 in North Carolina for the first time in state history. Under Republican leadership, average teacher salaries are on target to increase almost $10,000, more than 20%, since the 2013-2014 school year. We've reformed our unemployment insurance fund and $2.8 billion that was owed to the federal government for unemployment taxes that money that was borrowed from the federal government has now been paid back, and we have a surplus in the unemployment insurance fund. We ended the annual raid on transportation revenue. Now 99.5% of state transportation tax dollars are actually spent on transportation needs. We've prioritized saving for the future, put more than $1.6 billion in the state savings reserve, also known as the rainy day fund. But we are not going to stop there. This session, the Senate continues to focus on reforms that benefit all of our state, including rural North Carolina. In the Senate, we've passed another tax reform package that will cut an additional $1 billion in taxes, with the most dramatic tax reductions going to middle-class families and small businesses, just like you see in rural North Carolina. The state Senate remains dedicated to confronting the opioid crisis plaguing our state, and that's a problem that plagues not just urban but also rural North Carolina. In fact, Senators Jim Davis and Tom McInnes, both who represent rural districts, have been instrumental in working on the STOP Act, which will help restrict the flow of opioids and stem the terrible epidemic that our state is dealing with. And Senator Harry Brown, who I understand you'll be hearing from later today, filed a bill this session that will help our rural communities with school construction by supplementing existing funding streams with additional state dollars. The state Senate will continue to prioritize common sense legislation that enables rural North Carolina to thrive, just like the rest of North Carolina. I want to thank you for being here today, and I want to thank you especially for what you do in your communities. The strength of North Carolina is in our small towns and our cities, and you represent the areas of our state where that strength emanates from. I also appreciate the fact that you're willing to take a day out of your time to come to the legislature, to come to Raleigh to speak with members of the Senate and the House, and to meet with members or people in the executive branch. I appreciate what you do, and thank you again.